Welcome back, it's the Music Void here, back again at London Calling on the afternoon of Friday 20th June. Really happy to introduce Paul Hitchman, who is the CEO of Playlouder MSP. Now Playlouder is an award-winning digital music and media company that has consistently been at the forefront of innovation in online music services. Now, Paul, can you explain to us what Playlouder MSP is?
Well, what Playlouder MSP is we're filling the gap that exists between the ISP industry and the music industry. We are working with both parties to develop services to be bundled, music services, to be bundled with your broadband account, so that broadband users can get unlimited access to music with their broadband and pay for that in a way that a proportion of that money goes back to the music rights owners and the artists.
Right, okay, and so is it primarily only indie labels that are involved in that, or do you have some of the majors on board as well?
We have deals with both major labels and the indie labels. We're not quite ready to announce all of those deals yet,
okay.
But this will be across the whole of music, not just the independent sector.
Okay, that's great, so it will be a full offering then.
At the moment we have a beta version of the service up and running on playlouder.com. And that has independent music at the moment, but we have deals in place with some of the majors, and we're hoping to conclude deals with all of the majors in the near future.
Okay, that's great. And so how does the actual business model work in terms of consumers and the content owners?
Okay. Well, the consumers pay a monthly subscription fee, and for that's bundled with their broadband account.
Right.
And then once they've paid that fee, they have unlimited access to download and stream as much music as they like every month. With no restrictions on DRM or anything like that. They can share that music with other subscribers. In other words, it's really the ultimate broadband music service.
Okay,
unlimited
so it is an ISP, but it's an ISP providing access to unlimited, legal access to unlimited downloading.
Correct, and a proportion of that subscription income is set aside for the music rights owners and divided between them on a track-by-track basis according to which tracks have been downloaded the most.
Okay, now that's very equitable as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so what led you to come up with such a dynamic new model? And it was back in 2004 when you came up with this or started to make moves to build it. Is that correct?
Yes, and I think the inspiration was that around that time, 2003, 2004, was the beginning of the development of broadband. And it was clear at that time that in the consumer's mind, the bundle of paying for broadband and getting music already existed. You know, most consumers at that time really started to discover file sharing and downloading of music that wasn't licensed around that time, and it was very much a mainstream activity. All these people were paying for broadband to download music, but none of the money they were paying for broadband was going back to the actual owners of the music. And so it struck us that there was really an opportunity there to create a mainstream mass market service around broadband and music, which would be legitimate and which would compensate the owners of that music in a fair way.
Okay, well, that's great. That brings me on actually to the next question, because obviously ISPs and legislation and almost what you're already doing as an ISP is a big hot topic. You seem to have been the first ISP to actually put an offering together that the music industry is trying to push the rest of the ISPs into agreeing to.
Yeah.
Now, it is a hot topic. Where do you stand on this? Well, obviously you've set up something, but where do you stand? Do you think it should be legislated if the ISPs do not come to the table?
I think the problem with legislation is it's very difficult to introduce legislation in a commercial environment that's fast-moving and that's developing in all sorts of innovative directions. To try at one particular point in time to introduce legislation to cover all eventualities and to satisfy all parties, the consumers, the ISPs and the music industry, is very, very difficult. So I think the best solution is to leave it to the market to come up with commercial solutions where the best services become the most popular and both the ISPs and the music industry can benefit. I think the key is making sure that all parties benefit. Trying to impose a solution from the music industry onto ISPs or vice versa, I don't think is the way forward. I think the way forward is for both parties, perhaps with intermediaries like us, to come to the table, work out commercial deals, and then develop services that are hopefully attractive to consumers.
Okay, that's good. So What are your views on sort of advertising funded models in terms of the music business?
Well, I think it's very early days and difficult to say yet whether they're going to be able to provide enough revenue to share with the music industry to make them viable. But it certainly seems to be something that's worth trying. And I think it just needs to be given the breathing space, advertising funded models, to develop. And again, in a similar way, the best ones will get the most interest from consumers, and hopefully those will be able to generate enough revenues to pay sufficient money back to the music rights owners to make that model viable.
But there's a number of different ad-funded models. Whether you look at the Wii7, there's a Spiral Frog, or there's a MySpace store, which is a plain Bennett advertising. And I think then there's Wii7, where there's an audio ad tacked onto every song, which you have to listen every time for a month, and then you own the track. But you do have the option to buy. And then there's a Spiral Frog. Do you think there's possibly going to be anyone that may fly more than the other? Or?
Well, I think, give them all a chance to fly. From my own personal point of view, I'm probably not the target audience for those kind of models, so it's difficult for me to give a view that's really that valid from my own personal point of view. But I think that it's worth giving them all a chance to fly. What I think the main thing is that you listen to consumers, and both they and the music rights owners that are working with these models, I think, need to listen to consumers as to what they want, because that's the crucial factor. DRM, I think, is in terms of security in audio files, for example, hasn't proved to be that popular with consumers.
Is it not dead? I thought it was dead.
Arguably dead, and therefore you'd have to question any model that's built around DRM as whether it's actually ever going to gain traction with the consumer.
Yeah, okay, now that's a very valid point. Now also, I did go on to have a little try on your beta version of the site, and I noticed that there was some social networking and playlist versatility within the Playlouder MSP dashboard. And what on the beta version so far are the most sort of popular features that have you been finding?
Yeah. Well, I think those two things, community and sharing, are really important. And I think the important thing about any service around music is how you add value to music. The music is the raw material for these services, so you've got to find creative ways to add value to the experience of music. And in our experience, what's really working best is community around music, so people talking about music, providing their own tastes and their own opinions about music, and then sharing music, so being able to create playlists and share those with your friends, and being able to discover music through your friends' taste. Those two aspects, community and sharing, I think are the key ones.
Okay, and it also comes down to the user interface, because
Absolutely.
And any comments on as far as the iPhone is concerned, driving the user experience of phone, setting the bar, because traditionally, music's been sold on mobiles, but it's been traditionally a really, quite frankly, pain in the butt to actually use, and the functionalities, because there's so many different phones, operating systems, and even transferring it if you leave a different operator from that phone to the next. Do you think the iPhone is maybe for when things, because it is Wi-Fi enabled as well, and it's got a Safari browser in it, do you think it is going to help drive from the mobile side, and will the Playlouder MSP possibly have a mobile site that people with iPhones can start browsing and interacting with those features?
Well, Apple's very good at giving the consumer what they want, but you'd never bet against Apple coming up with the killer app in any space. So I'd say the iPhone looks great and feels good, and in terms of what we're doing, sure, you have to be able to give the consumer what they want. They want to be able to discover music and download music on the move, and that's an important part of anything to do with digital music in the future.
Okay, and on a final note, do you have any news you can maybe tell us about that maybe hasn't been announced, or just recently has been, or is in the pipeline and it's going to be announced?
I wish I could. We are hoping to make some pretty exciting announcements in the near future.
Okay.
But I can't, as of today, make anything along those lines.
Okay, well, we'll keep our ears to the ground on that one here at the Music Void, and I would like to thank you very much, Paul, for your time, and we wish you all success.
Thank you very much.